Happy Thanksgiving, or as we call it in the UK, Thursday. And it makes sense on this day to talk about great American wrestling, featuring a Canadian on commentary, 2 Australians kicking people's heads in, and a main event featuring an Englishman. USA, USA, USA. This is NXT Graded. No Wade Barrett on commentary this week, so we get a Kevin Owens in the seat instead, looking fabulous. I'm gutted I can't find my yellow tie, so the salmon one will have to do, although I do feel like I'm about to turn on John Cena. Candice LeRae and Ember Moon is our opening match, and Candice wants none of Ember Moon. She's constantly trying to get away from her. Ember eventually catches up with her, drops her onto the announce table at one point. Looks brutal as she drops her onto there. Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez make their way out during the match, and it's the shenanigans around ringside, incidentally mainly the attack by Indy Hartwell, that turns the tide in the favour of Candice LeRae. Moon fights out of a Gargano escape, starts getting back into this match, but the end comes as she goes up for the Eclipse, and Gonzalez and Kai distract the referee. Hartwell gets into the ring, takes the proverbial bullet for Candice LeRae, pushes her out the way and eats the Eclipse from Ember Moon. In the chaos of all of that, Ember Moon ends up falling prey to the wicked stepsister for the 1, 2, 3. After the match, Ember Moon rolls out of the ring where Toni Storm heads out to stand by her side. It looks like they're going to get in there and get themselves a piece of Candice LeRae and her team. But as they run to the ring, Toni Storm pulls Ember Moon out of the ring and bop, oh my god, whang, into the steel chair. What are you doing, Toni? I thought I loved you. Turns out Toni Storm, not a fan of Ember Moon, and she throws Moon into the ring where she gets a beating by LeRae, Kai and Gonzalez. And later on the night we find out that Toni Storm has aligned herself with Candice LeRae. She said she was going to show a new side to Toni Storm, and this is it. She is now on Team LeRae for WarGames. The opening match was a B, lots of great stuff between LeRae and Moon here, and the Toni Storm turn genuinely surprised me. I feel like I've only ever seen Toni Storm in a babyface capacity, so I'm intrigued to see how she plays out as a baddie. Legado del Fantasma are having a lovely laugh in their high-back leather armchairs, drinking drinks and talking about all the people they've beaten up, and they reference Kurt Stallion. They sort of laugh off Kurt Stallion as a challenger for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. They sing their glasses and carry on. We're building to a thing, apparently. Undisputed Era head out to the ring. They talk up how they're going to do all sorts of horrible things to Pat McAfee and lads at WarGames. We know that Pete Dunne is representing Team Pat in the WarGames Advantage match later on tonight. Undisputed Era haven't disclosed who's representing them yet, but Kyle O'Reilly steps up and he is livid about what Pete Dunne did to him at Halloween Havoc, and he wants to be the one that steps in to get a bit of Rwenge. And Undisputed Era agree. Kyle O'Reilly in the match later on tonight, and Adam Cole warns Pat McAfee and co that they will never be the same after WarGames, and that is undisputed. A- for the promo here, really good work. Simple, but very, very effective. This was a great way to galvanise that things are all right in the Undisputed Era camp. I know we've talked on Graded a few times about whether or not they'll be splintering off, a civil war in Undisputed Era. A promo like this just brings everybody back on the same level. Timothy Thatcher takes on Kushida next. Thatcher's Thatchcan Academy pupils are sat backstage watching it, and Tommaso Ciampa has got a front row seat. He pulls up a chair and watches from ringside as these two have some solid techers. Oh, spicy techers from Kushida and Thatcher. Just before the break, we see Kushida go for a springboard to knock Thatcher off the apron, but he turns it into a half crab through the apron. And when we come back from break, obviously Kushida had been worked over during the break and he's firing back afterwards. Heavy strikes from Kushida. They end up heading outside the ring. Kushida dropping Thatcher with an armbar onto the ground. Now, moments before this, we saw Kushida pushing Thatcher into the post, and he's bust up his nose, or maybe his mouth, possibly his nose, and there's a great bit where Thatcher looks up at Ciampa, who sat in the chair, hasn't moved from his chair, and just this grimace on his face with blood running down his nose. It was a great little visual. But Thatcher is now very aware that Ciampa is there. He gets back into the ring, looks like he's going to start to gain the advantage back, but again, slightly distracted by the presence of Ciampa. This leads to Kushida getting an opening, getting that hoverboard locked in, and getting a tap-out win over Timothy Thatcher. Ciampa then takes his chair and heads off, happy enough that he's made his presence felt in the match. And that was, for me, a B+. These guys really went for it with some solid technical excellence throughout here. Really, really good stuff. And we continue a unique little tease towards Ciampa and Thatcher. I want to add some love to the Thatcher style. I feel like I do this most weeks, but it's the idea that NXT very much kind of got into the groove of having a style. And matches with Timothy Thatcher are breaking that style. They're like a palate cleanser on television, and they're a very strong palate cleanser too. Guest commentator Kevin Owens steps into the ring for a special edition of the KO show. His special guest is the new North American champion, Leon Ruff. And Ruff is very humble in his delivery early on, saying that the championship is a dream come true. Signing with WWE is a lifelong dream. The belt is a yes to all the no's that he's had. Kevin Owens tells Leon Ruff to speak with a bit more conviction. And Leon Ruff gets a fire in his belly from Kevin Owens' words, and he stands up, he throws the chair to one side, and he says, "Yeah, I beat Johnny Gargano. I'm the North American champion." Kevin Owens winces at this point and says, now you've said his name, he's going to come out and interrupt the show. That's kind of what happens on the Kevin Owens show. And almost on cue, as Kevin Owens counts him down, Johnny Gargano heads towards the ring. He gets into the ring, to which Kevin Owens offers him a chair. Gargano throws it out immediately. Kevin Owens brings in another chair. And Gargano says, "I don't want one." And Kevin said, "No, it's not for you. It's for someone else. It's just a hunch," he says. He leaves another chair there. Johnny Gargano talking to Leon Ruff and says, "The only reason that you're the champion is because of Damian Priest." And Kevin Owens says, "Did you not hear what we said before? He's going to come out now." He counts him down, 3, 2, 1. Doesn't come out. Counts him down again, and just as Kevin Owens is thinking, hey, maybe things are different here at NXT, Damian Priest's music hits. He makes his way to the ring. Kevin offers him a chair. Priest says no. Kevin grumbles to himself, like, why do we bother getting chairs? These three are talking away, and Damian wants a match against Leon Ruff. He reminds Leon Ruff that he said he'll beat both of them. To which Kevin Owens says there's no Teddy Long in NXT, but there must be a Teddy Long-like figure that can come out and make this match happen. Almost on cue, here comes William Regal, who says at TakeOver, we will see Leon Ruff versus Johnny Gargano versus Damian Priest in a triple threat match. Player, and then brushes his hair and walks off. Just the perfect delivery of Regal on Player. I don't do it justice. You'll have to go and watch it. It's so good. And then from there, that's it. The match is set for TakeOver. Triple threat. KO show comes to an end. I'm giving this an A+. This was just so much fun. You had storyline stuff going down that was important. And in amongst that, you had Kevin Owens basically showing the wires of wrestling. and just the cherry on top of this gorgeous Sunday was William Regal's delivery of Player. Just one simple word, and the way he delivered it, stunning stuff. It was an A+. I love the bones off of this. Finn Balor gives a cryptic message to those in the WarGames match, saying, "Don't bring checkers on my chessboard. Cat's back. Don't play in his litter. I'm not hard to find. I work Wednesdays." I quite like Finn Balor speaking in riddle all the time. Yeah, but Balor is basically saying, look, whoever comes out of that match, there's a title match down the road, I think is where we're going with this. Which suggests to me that Finn Balor is very much going to be a working champion going forward once his jaw fixes. I know that was in doubt for quite a long time, but happy to know that Balor will continue on as NXT champion. Shotzi Blackheart back in the shop. She continues to talk aggressively about going to war whilst building what seems to be a tank. ahead of WarGames. Shotzi's been the face of WarGames, and it really suits her, this particular role. I'm enjoying the way that WarGames match is being built up. Up next, it's Cameron Grimes versus Jake Atlas. Fast-paced match here. We see Jake Atlas take the lead with two beautiful springboard arm drags. Lots of heavy striking. Very little room to breathe in this match. Only goes a couple of minutes, and it ends with Cameron Grimes landing a crossbody in the center of the ring, and then the cave-in for the 1, 2, 3. As he's celebrating, Dexter Lumis appears on the apron. Grimes makes a run for it, and then a video plays on the screen that shows all the times that Cameron Grimes has run away from Dexter Lumis. And then Dexter Lumis shows that he is holding a bag, and in that bag is a strap. He throws half the strap towards Cameron Grimes. Grimes doesn't want anything to do with it. He is away. And then just after the break, backstage, Cameron Grimes is approached by William Regal, and Regal makes it official. At WarGames, it will be Dexter Lumis versus Cameron Grimes in a strap match. Nice stuff. This was a C+ for the match itself. Wasn't a lot to it. It was a short, sharp showcase match for Cameron Grimes. Just a way to eventually get Lumis and Grimes together and set up their match for TakeOver WarGames. I think they'll have some fun with the strap stipulation. I really think they will. Rhea Ripley heads to the ring to talk about her future. She addresses the match that she had last week against Io Shirai, where she came up short. She also addresses the hug that got everybody talking about her future. Rhea Ripley watches NXT Graded, apparently, and she says that she's going nowhere. She wants to stay here and become the NXT Women's Champion. This brings out Candice LeRae and her new bestie, Toni Storm, and says that with Candice, it took multiple people to stop her from beating Io Shirai, whereas Io Shirai beat Rhea Ripley clean. She says that Rhea Ripley is all talk, whereas they get the job done. And here comes Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai, and over Raquel Gonzalez's shoulder is the prone, lifeless body of Io Shirai. They dump her onto the ramp, and Ripley is just enraged by this. They end up brawling, but it's a 4-on-1. So try as Ripley might, she just gets overwhelmed by Candice LeRae, Toni Storm, Dakota Kai, and Raquel Gonzalez. They leave her in a heap in the ring, and Io Shirai in a heap on the ramp. This was an A. I thought Ripley's beginning bit, the promo, was really strong. It bled nicely into Candice LeRae and Toni Storm coming out there. And just like some good visual stuff in here. Like Shirai over the shoulder of Raquel Gonzalez just really makes them a menacing unit. And then the last shot with Ripley pulling herself to her feet as Team Candice stand tall before leaving. Like, just really cool stuff. This was like, I'm really invested in, as I said with the Shotzi Blackheart segment, really invested in the women's WarGames match for December. Probably more so than any other. Just the unique bit of storytelling they've been doing, the twists and the turns they've been taking here. I've really enjoyed it. Because I was last week saying, okay, so it's probably going to be Shotzi, Ember, Toni Storm and another versus Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, Indy Hartwell and Raquel Gonzalez. And whoa! I'm happy to be wrong. I'd rather be happy than right. So we twist and turn all the way to the pay-per-view, it seems. We see Boa and Xia Li in the back of a car, disheveled and terrified. They are driven up to a lockup where the master is waiting for them, who opens up the lockup, and in there, sat next to some candles and some imagery, is a hooded woman. Now, we don't see the face, but we know it's a woman because you can see the hands and the fabulous nails. And Xia Li and Boa are weeping at the mercy of this hooded figure, like begging for their forgiveness, promising to make things right. They're silenced, and they have marks put on their hands, and they're told it's time. We briefly see like the eye and some hair of the hooded figure, but that's all we see. This was very Lucha Underground, not even mad. This is really cool. And it's nice to see so many people talking about this online as well. Like every time NXT comes and goes, the one comments that you always see is people are really intrigued by what they're doing with Xia Li and Boa. Like there's something special about this, and I'm intrigued as to where this goes and who this builds to. Everrise are out for a match, but before they even finish getting announced, they're jumped by the grizzled young veterans. Zach Gibson and James Drake are back. They look fabulous in their custom suits, and they promise to soon be recognised as the NXT Tag Team Champions. One ticket to Mayhem later, boff, done, off they go. There's nothing really to grade here. Like, the segment lasted probably 60 seconds, but it was really good to see the grizzled young vets back on NXT television. Just such a great tag team. If you're not familiar with the work of the grizzled young veterans, can I encourage you to check out NXT TakeOver Blackpool? And it's the finals of the tag team tournament, and it's grizzled young vets versus Mustache Mountain. That's the opening match. It's on the network. It's so good. Oh, it's so good. And it's just great to see them in the mix now. The tag division slowly becoming quite interesting in NXT. The Garganos are leaving the CWC. Indy Hartwell being helped out by Candice LeRae in a neck brace. She took the Eclipse earlier on, remember? They help her into the back of the car. The Garganos get in, promising victory at WarGames. And then in the back of the car, we see the Scream mask. So Indy Hartwell isn't the only one that's been wearing the Scream mask, it seems. There is another mystery assistant to the Garganos. Intriguing. They drive off. Austin Theory. I'm just going to put that there. Austin Theory, I'm going to say. And so we come to main event o'clock. It is the WarGames Advantage ladder match between Pete Dunne and Kyle O'Reilly. This match starts before the bell. Kyle O'Reilly attacking Pete Dunne outside the ring before he's even got his coat off, and they fight all the way around the ring. Pete Dunne stamps on O'Reilly's hands when he's on the ladder. We see O'Reilly come back and slingshot Pete Dunne into the barricade. They get back into the ring eventually, and this is just a brawl. A very well put together brawl. O'Reilly at one point gets pushed off the ladder and he lands, like, he falls off, but his leg seems trapped between the rungs. It looked pretty nasty. He was all right though. Not so much after he took a suplex from Pete Dunne off the apron and through a propped up ladder that collapsed beneath them just before they went to break. That was a great moment. O'Reilly does get back into the match, but he misses a knee drop off the top rope and his knee just clatters into the ladder. Pete Dunne back in form here once again. They end up punching each other between the ladders, either side of the ladder, and then they end up pulling each other's arms through the ladders as well. Just really brutal stuff from them. Dunne eventually gets bored of trying to out-wrestle Kyle O'Reilly, grabs a steel chair, batters O'Reilly with a chair, hits him with a bitter end over the barricade, goes up the ladder. Just as O'Reilly is climbing up the top, a mystery man. What is it with the mysteries tonight? Mystery man charges to the ring and knocks Kyle O'Reilly off of the ladder. Runs away again, and Pete Dunne gets back into the ring, climbs up, advantage Pat McAfee. The first time Undisputed Era have gone into a WarGames match without the one-man advantage, and it goes to Team McAfee. That is how we end NXT this week. What a main event. A+ for Pat McAfee and Kyle O'Reilly. These two just tore strips off each other this week. Really energetic match from start to finish with two guys highly motivated. And the story being told here that for the first time, the Era don't have the advantage in WarGames. That's a nice little twist as well. Another mystery assailant figure involved in NXT. My only concern is that we now have, in one show, we had Who is the Mystery Person thrice, which is probably twice too many, but it doesn't take away from how brilliant this match was. Like, excellent work from both guys. And overall this week, I'm giving NXT an A-. Really loved this show. Like, I've been okay about NXT since Halloween Havoc. Halloween Havoc was excellent. And then we've had a couple of fair to good shows since then. This felt like a real return to form. There was some strong promo stuff in here, some strong character development stuff in here, and a really great main event between two guys who can just absolutely go. Really enjoyed NXT this week. Maybe if you have some time on your Thanksgiving, maybe watch Kyle O'Reilly and Pete Dunne clatter each other for a bit. Isn't that what the true spirit of Thanksgiving really is? Stay safe. Gobble gobble.